Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is Dynamos Dozen, the pro wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week. Of course, if you could head over to YouTube, smash the subscribe and bell notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. YouTube is kind of not our friend for us content creators, so we need all your help that you can give us. We've got a great show for you this evening. Lots and lots of stuff to get through tonight, and lots of stuff has come out. We're going to be talking about CM Punk versus AEW. We're going to be talking about the Wembley show. Lots to talk about. Drew McIntyre going dark on social media. Jeff Hardy's return. What else have we got in there for you? We're going to talk about Dustin Rhodes, who's plenty to say. We're going to give you a Backlash update as well. Let you know what matches have been confirmed for Backlash and where it's at. And some interesting stuff from Jericho this week as well. And of course, we're going to be talking about John Morrison's boxing debut. So some really good stuff in there. Also, we'll be quickly talking about Ken Padera's new autobiography that comes out. I'm sure that will be a very interesting read. That man has had quite the colourful lifestyle, I would say. So interesting to see what is in that. So let's get started. Let's talk. Where shall we begin? I think we should begin with John Morrison. Here we have Joe Mo himself. Of course, folks, just to let you know there, the QR code is there. If you want to scan that, it'll bring you straight to our TikTok page. We've been putting up content there now on a daily basis. So if you want to follow that content on there, just scan that QR code on your screens. Brings you straight to our TikTok page and you can give us a follow. But John Morrison had his boxing debut there the other day, won by knocking out Epic Meal Time was the name of the chap. Such an interesting name, isn't it? Can you imagine, imagine walking up to the airport with your passport, and you're going through TSI or immigration or whatever it is, and he looks at you, opens up the passport and goes, Epic Meal Time. Or imagine your parents calling you Epic Meal Time. But he won, beat Epic Meal Time, knocked him out. Match to me was quite sloppy, really. If you go back and look at the knockout, there was nearly more forearms than there was punches, resulting in Epic Meal Time going flying out through the ropes onto the floor and getting knocked out. But it was a bit of a madness, all right. But I'm sure John Morrison has recognized very quickly that this is an area where money can be earned very, very easily. So well worth getting into. After the match, of course, he called out, of course, Jake Paul and, of course, KSI. And these are the guys to be calling out now if you want to do these big boxing events and earn serious cheddar for your efforts. But John Morrison starting off his boxing career and his boxing debut. With a knocking out Epic Meal Time. Interesting. Start with that one. Let's talk about Drew. Again, as I said, if you want to scan the QR code, it's going to be there on most of the slides tonight. We have to talk about Drew McIntyre. Had his match against Sheamus and Gunther at WrestleMania, but seems to have gone dark on social media, namely Twitter. His last post, I think, was on either the second or the third, where it was 3 waving hand emojis. Kind of felt like a goodbye thing or something like that, people were saying. But we know his contract is up for negotiation at the moment. I think it ends at the end of the year from what I read. But he is also injured as well and is taking some time off. But there's a lot of talk at the moment that the contract at the moment is kind of well apart from both parties in terms of the financial rewards of the contract. So they're negotiating away and we'll see where it goes. And who knows, he may take that leap to AEW. There was a lot of talk going around, of course, when this first broke that, AEW signed him up, get him in for that Wembley show and stuff like that. We know on the back of that fantastic outing, a Clash at the Castle, it was absolutely brilliant. Packed house in the Principality. I was there with Dazzler, of course. Epic show it was as well, brilliant, and great match from Drew and Roman as well. So maybe AEW looked at that and said maybe that's exactly what we need for Wembley, but unfortunately his contract, he isn't out of contract at that stage, so I'd say there's a very slim chance of that happening. But he's gone dark on social media, so we'll keep an eye on it for when he resurfaces. But interesting to see him kind of out of the picture at the moment. We also had news this week as well. Nick Khan confirmed that Triple H's role following the merger with WWE and UFC under the Endeavour banner, that in a recent interview he shed light with Light Shed Live, actually, sorry, the interview was with, and he confirmed, Nick Khan, WWE CEO Nick Khan, confirmed that Triple H's role in the company will not be changing, that he will be the sole chief creative officer. A lot of people, of course, remember waiting on that SmackDown announcement there a week or so ago, and people were thinking, is he going to retire? Is he going to leave the company? Where does he lie in this whole merger thing? And we had suggested that this would not be a good time to be leaving WWE. It's a time for staying, because there's huge opportunities there now with the merger and all that sort of stuff. Evening, Niall. Evening, Dynamos. Cena, you can't see me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Eno's off at a concert tonight, lads. He'll be back next week. Don't worry about that. I'm sure he'll be tuning in at some stage, but he's off this week, taking a break and off to a concert, of course, with the lovely Rachel. What's up next? What do we want to talk about? Dustin Rhodes, of course, who we're all mad about. Dustin Rhodes has been talking about scripted promos, and he has said that there's no real emotion in them. And I think we've been talking about this for a while, that you see some of the promos these days. Generally, the guys at the top level, the Reigns of this world, the Rollins of this world, dare I say, the Rhea Ripleys, they tend to have that lot of emotion in their promos. Charlotte is the same as well. Lots of them out there. But there's lots of them where you can see it's quite scripted and fairly bland, and it doesn't come across right. So Dustin was just talking about that those promos, they lack emotion, and rightly so. But he was also talking this week as well. It was interesting. In another interview, he was talking about Dustin. He was saying that it was hard to watch Cody lose at WrestleMania 39, but likes the way that WWE is making him earn it. So let us know your thoughts on that. How do you feel about that? Obviously, Cody is match is confirmed. We'll be getting into it in the Backlash preview. His match has been confirmed now with Brock Lesnar for Backlash. So I'm sure that's going to be very interesting. Morris is in the better Rhodes, I might add. A lot of people would agree with you. No one disagreeing there. Dustin had some class promos over the years. Yeah, and I was thinking that, when you think about talking about wrestling promos and stuff like that, Dustin Rhodes was absolutely electric during that time with some of the promos he's done. And sure, the apple wouldn't fall far from the tree with the dad. So if there's anyone in a position to be discussing how they feel about wrestling promos, certainly it would be Dustin. And certainly being a Rhodes, definitely. But absolutely, he has some real class promos. But that's the way he was talking. So let us know how you feel of that. How do you feel about how they're handling Cody? Is it the right way? Do they really need him to earn it? Is it going the right way? Is he going to pick up the win at Backlash? Are they going to continue to test him and see what way it pans out? We'll have to wait and see. But some interesting comments there that have come out that we said we would have to discuss. Loads to get through this week. Chris Jericho has been talking. He believes AEW could sell more tickets for the Wembley Stadium show than people expect. And he was talking about it really from a personal point of view as well. He was saying that from a personal standpoint, obviously Wembley is one of the most famous stadiums in the world. Jericho told the Battleground podcast that he was on. He said, one of my favourite gigs of all time took place there, the Queen Live Aid in 1985. Another of my favourite shows, the Freddie Mercury tribute show in 1992, also took place there. So to just be there would be cool. He believes they should have booked stadiums also when they were doing shows in LA and Toronto. He's convinced that they would do pretty good. We've been questioning that on the show. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to sell that amount of tickets. Now, having said that, if Punk comes back from it, there's talk that that Goldberg is going to go all elite as well. And what way is that going to pan out? And we're going to be talking about that kind of booking and what way it should go. So we'll see what happens there. But certainly it's an interesting one. Jericho was also talking this week as well, and we'll cover it now while we're on Jericho. May as well get all his stuff in there as well. Just to point out, folks, as well, of course, like and subscribe. and hit the bell notification. But also, let us know your thoughts on this, But Jericho was talking this week, and he says, Chris Jericho says, never having a singles pay-per-view match with The Undertaker is one of the biggest misses in WWE history. So I would imagine if you're a pro wrestler, that one of the matches on your bucket list would be to have a singles match against Undertaker, probably in the main event of a pay-per-view, or if you could at a WrestleMania, I would imagine, would probably be the pinnacle of your career, apart from winning a lot of titles and stuff like that. But it'd certainly be one that you'd want to have on your career CV when you're finishing, to look back on and stuff like that. So he was talking about that. I was quite taken aback by it, actually. I had to go and look and say, is that actually the truth? He's never actually had one. And that's the case, a singles one. He did have a singles match against him on SmackDown, all right, but never a pay-per-view match, apparently. So I was very surprised at that. And it was one that was very interesting that I thought we would talk about. So let us know your thoughts on that. What would you think if you were a pro wrestler? A match against The Undertaker surely would be on your bucket list. I think they can do very well at Wembley. You have to remember, people will be coming from all over Europe and the world. Potentially, yeah, because you got the StarCast thing that they're going to do as well and stuff like that. But I still think, like, you're talking, what are you talking in there, 80, 90,000? It's massive. It's massive, Acers is in. How you doing, Acers? Brock Lesnar will win at Backlash. That's my thoughts as well, but it'd be interesting to see then what happens and how it all develops then with Cody, wouldn't it? Because that'd be taking the L at Mania and then taking the L at Backlash, and certainly you would believe then, as Dustin said, certainly he is going to earn it, and they are testing his resilience. We should also make the point as well, there was one there in the notes as well when we're talking about Cody Rhodes. Also, WrestleMania week, while he was in LA, he was meeting with directors and film people, exploring other opportunities out there in terms of roles and movies and stuff like that. And there was talk of, I think, the Mortal Kombat one and stuff like that as well. I think Miz is in for it as well. But it'd be interesting to see how that develops. But good to see Cody Rhodes, the businessman as well, thinking all the time and never missing an opportunity. Morris back in. I'm surprised he never had a pay-per-view match with him. Wow, yeah. It's mad, Morris, isn't it? I had to check it as well. I was absolutely, when I read it, I was going, really? I had to go back through it and look and stuff like that and all. The only one I could find, and correct me if I'm wrong, was he had a singles match, I think, on SmackDown against him. But that was it. So, yeah, so you can imagine that's one. But then never say never. Anything could happen, Let's see what happens. It's jumping in for it's jumping in for the sex before foreplay, Wembley before the cottage. Yeah, absolutely. Eno's in the comments. What's the crack, Niall? All good, Eno. Good to see you there, my friend. We're just talking stuff at the moment. This is one, Eno. I think I was talking to you earlier about this, that Jericho hadn't had a singles match against Undertaker on a pay-per-view. And it's kind of like, it would have to be one that would be on your bucket list. But yeah, an interesting dynamic on that one. What else we got to cover? Let's cover Ken Patera. Ken Patera recently released his autobiography, Weight of the World. As you know, if you're of the vintage that I am, I would remember Ken Patera well. I remember him coming back into WWE and the storylines with Bobby Heenan and the Weasel, and Ken being an Olympic lifter and got into trouble with the law, ended up doing some time, was incarcerated, and WWE at the time used it as a storyline and stuff like that. And I remember Bobby the Brain Heenan was absolutely brilliant in the storyline and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's releasing an autobiography, Weight of the World. I'd imagine it would be a very good read. I mean, this man, he's had a colourful life, let's say, and there should be some really good stories in there, I would imagine. Again, I would implore you all as well, if you want to follow us on TikTok, QR code is there. Again, if you want to scan it, it will bring you straight to our TikTok page where you can drop a follow. And we've been dropping stuff up there quite a bit at the moment. Where is Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly is at a concert tonight, so he will be back next week. So it's just me flying solo tonight. Acer, CM Punk and FTR versus the Elite at Wembley Stadium main event. Yeah, that would be super cool. But can you imagine if it broke down? If you imagine if it became a shoot and they went crazy and stuff like that? And I don't know. Yeah, we got to talk about CM Punk and AEW. What's going on there? Splitting the brands to give them different shows to keep them separated. People were talking about, of course, Punk versus Goldberg, and I was thinking, why would you go Punk versus Goldberg? Goldberg's like 5-10 minute match max, and you have Punk out there who can go 30-40 minutes, no problem. That for me would be a no-no. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, that one, and it pops up, of course. Coming to Wembley, August 27th, 90,000 people there. What do we think now? That main event, that would be a cool main event. But are these people going to be able to work together? Are they really going to get it together? Are we being worked at the moment? Stuff like that. Tony Khan looks like it's out of control, but he needs to get him back working because he's paying him an absolute wedge. And it doesn't look like at the moment, listening to some of the people involved and stuff like that, it doesn't look like either parties have an appetite to work together, hence talking about this brand split and stuff like that, you know. But it'd be interesting. Good shout, Isis, though. Yeah, that would be the main event. Heard them talking about, all right. Morris still hurting after last night's match, Ian. Oh, licking the wounds, licking the wounds. Acers, Inter Milan 1, Benfica 0. That's all but dust at the Acers. Don't even have to worry about that. It'll be interesting. The other one could be the one that's interesting if a couple of goals go Bayern Munich's way. Vince McMahon would never have split his roster to suit two wrestlers. Yeah, well, he would look, let's be honest here, he would not at that level anyway. I mean, if you were talking back in the day, you were talking maybe Rock and Austin, and they just couldn't figure things out or something like that. Certainly, you could see maybe at that level, stuff like that. But if you drop Punk and you drop the Elite into WWE at the moment, it's not going to be at the level there where you get any credence or any preferential treatment, let's say, I would imagine. But yeah, no, it was an interesting one that came up. But again, going back, Campatera's book has released. Well, we're probably taking a look at, folks. I'm sure some of the stories are electric in it. We'll get some more information on it next week and see what comes out of it. Maybe see can we get our hands on it and do a bit of a review on it. CM Punk will be wrestling at Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Is that Forbidden Door? Is that the show in Chicago that they've been talking about, Acers? Is that the one that's in Chicago where they're predicting that's going to be his return? We've thought that a couple of times before as well, and it hasn't necessarily happened. But be interesting to see if it does happen. We will wait and see. Let's break it up a little bit here now. Let's get into our Backlash update. So as you know, Backlash is coming the 6th of May from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Interesting location. WWE haven't run a show there since 2005. But the card is starting to take shape. Sean's in. How are you doing, Sean? Good to see you. How do you, lad? Did you give Dynamo the night off? He took the night off. He's away at a concert with his good lady. Punk's return is June 21st in Chicago. Yeah, that's it, Acers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all good, Sean. Flying solo tonight, going through some of the stuff, so it should be interesting. But matches that are confirmed so far, of course, we have Riddle, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline, the Usos, and Solo. Which certainly should be an interesting match. We've got Cody versus Brock, which was confirmed. Let's see how that goes there. How much are WWE going to push that? How much more is he going to have to earn? Let's see. And then obviously the interesting one that's come out as well, Rey Mysterio and Bad Bunny, of course, front and central there, who's your host for it, are going to be tagging against Dominic and Damian Priest. They're your matches so far. Ian's in the Tree Arena watching a podcast, and Niall. Yeah, I think he's at there's a big podcast there. I think they sold out 3 nights, didn't they, Morris? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast. Apparently it's huge. Never actually watched the show, believe it or not, folks, but apparently they have a huge cult following. They sold out 3 nights. They're doing a podcast down there come show. They sold out 3 nights in the Tree Arena. No mean feat to do that. At least it's not WrestleMania Backlash. Yeah, that's true. Good show, Sean. Is running his absolutely. Shout out to Ian the Dynamo Machine Kelly. He told me as well, if you did come on in as well, if you were to say something like that, you were to fuck off. That's what he told me to tell you. Messing. Absolutely, but that's your Backlash update. Of course, we'll bring another update next week as we move into the final week of it. And before we do it, we'll actually the following week then we'll have a preview for it on the show. Should be a bit of crack. Let's see. Other news, of course, that came out. The main man himself, the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy, made his comeback on AEW. Few nice, tidy chair shots laid in there. Great to see him back. Great to see him looking so well again after his whatever amount of stints at this stage in a rehab, but looking well. Jeff Hardy, good seeing him back. Always big fan of Jeff Hardy's. Again, as I said, folks, QR code there. If you want to follow us on TikTok, give that a scan. You can hit follow on it. Acers. Ian crying his eyes out after Chelsea season is totally finished. He was not best pleased last night. They're going through a tough time at the moment, Chelsea. So he's feeling hurt. Just as hurt as myself, really, with Liverpool season. Tough one, all right. Sean's back in. Do you like Celebrity House? Interesting. I don't know. I suppose if it kind of fits, you know what I mean? I don't really have a problem with it. You know what I mean? So long as it doesn't take away too much, you know, from what's going on. So long as it doesn't become a distraction, more of a blend into the show. I'm all good with it. Let us know your own thoughts on it, folks, in the chat. How do you feel about Celebrity House? I think it's just the way the business is gone. It's a sports entertainment now, so what can you do? It's just going to happen, isn't it? But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Hodgins has a better attendance here than Kelly. Big up Beans. Oh, they're going in hard on Eno this week. Sean, lovely seeing Jeff. Just hope he can keep out of trouble. Yeah, absolutely. And look, many times have we said it's always a difficult one and stuff like that, but we'll see what happens. Eno's in. Rey Mysterio, he'll turn sometime in the near future. Do you think? Interesting. We will see what happened there. I'm not sure if you all caught this at the start of the show, but of course, this man made his boxing debut. We'll just recap for you. Scored a knockout win against Epic Meal Time. I'd say that man loves his parents. Epic Meal Time. And then proceeded to call out then Jake Paul or KSI, which should be very, very interesting. But I don't know. I looked at his boxing there the other night. Obviously, it's his debut and stuff like that, so you have to be careful how you judge it and stuff like that. But it was his debut. It was kind of sloppy. Wasn't as slick as you'd expect. I think Jake Paul or KSI might have a field day with him. But again, get on that dollar gravy train there while these kind of boxing matches are being put together and stuff like that, earning some serious money. But certainly a super athlete, John Morrison. Met him a few times at WrestleCon. Nice fella as well. Nice fella to talk to. Acers with the football update. Red card, Bayern Munich down to 10 men. Good luck, game over. It was game over anyway. Now it's more game over. Sean back in. Please stop the slagging Dynamo chants. I can't laugh at them all. And Morris, nice KO too. Did you see the KO Morris when he was hitting them with more forearms than punches, and then your man went flying through the ropes, nearly ended up in the first row and stuff like that. It was hilarious. Acers, linesman rescinding red card call. Okay, interesting. Should be on this one first. Did you see that bot called out the whole roster? It's just madness, isn't it? It's just madness. The LWO stable had been heels. Yeah, it was interesting to see that last week as well, wasn't it? It was a real throwback. Johnny Southpaw. Johnny Southpaw. Epic Meal Time. Johnny Southpaw. I was saying earlier in the show, imagine you're walking up to security in the airport and you hand them your passport and it's Epic Meal Time. Imagine. Say that guy loves his parents, huh? Be absolutely classic. Let's talk about this one, folks. Another bit of news here. Bruce Pritchard came out talking about this, and he reveals that, of course, that classic match nearly headlined WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair's retirement match, the first retirement match. Dare I add. But yeah, he said that it was touted that this match was going to be the main event, but because of the emotion of it and how the result was going to go and all that, they didn't want people going off kind of down about the event and stuff like that, with Ric Flair obviously losing the match, and we remember it fondly. I was in the stadium that night. The emotion was unbelievable. I shedded a tear or two myself, and not ashamed to admit it. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on that, folks. What would you think? Was this a match that should have main evented WrestleMania? Certainly it had all the emotion, certainly it had all the backstory. It was a brilliant match, in fairness. And just to see him there at the end, and of course, Very hard to look at it as well with him hugging Ashley, of course, Charlotte and Reed as well and stuff like that. Heartbreaking knowing Reed is gone and stuff like that. His anniversary was there last week. I'd like to make the point this week as well. I don't think, checking back on my notes, I don't think at the moment we have a death on the cards this week, either in the history or in the news topics. And that's probably a first for Dynamos, doesn't. So good to put that one out there. Acers is delighted with the blood coming back soon. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting move, isn't it? The blood coming back. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on that in the chat, folks. Blood potentially returning to our screens. One of the unsung heroes of wrestling is the lad who updated John Morrison's new names. Yeah, absolutely. Flair should have retired with dignity that night. Yeah, that was the most disappointing thing, because you got your Hall of Fame, you got the retirement match, which was absolutely brilliant. The family was there, the whole thing, the setting was set. Then afterwards, of course, he was presented. Didn't they present him with like a beautiful Rolex watch or something like that? I think the watch was like 20 or 30,000 or something like that. And then he toddled off. He toddled off the TNA. And he did a storyline, didn't he? I can't remember who it was. I don't know whether it was the Jay Lethal one or not. And like he was like stamping on the watch on the steps and elbow dropping it and all sorts of stuff. Now, it probably wasn't the watch, but that was the storyline that was put out there. So it was interesting. But yeah, I would have loved that to be the main event, and I certainly wouldn't have went home disappointed. Matter of fact, it was very difficult because that was a one-nighter. We were in Florida. It was roasting hot. And actually, I was sitting beside Haku, believe it or not, in the stadium. Haku was there with a load of his kids. Lovely fella, Haku. Absolutely built like a tank. Big lad. Had a baseball cap on him. I recognised him straight away, but I didn't want to draw attention to him because I knew people would be just on top of him. So I got a picture with him and I had a quiet word. Loved seeing him, shook his hand and all that. Thanked him for the memories down through the years and stuff like that. And look, we booked those tickets randomly on Ticketmaster. What's the chances you're booking the tickets and sitting right beside Haku? It was absolutely brilliant. But I found it hard for the rest of the Mania night after this match, because this match brought us on such an emotional journey. So I wouldn't have been upset at all if it had been the main event. It would have been absolutely perfect for the night. But absolutely spot on, Morris. Honestly, it was so good it could have been anywhere on the card, but also having a world title match with Undertaker and not main event would have been bad for business. Yeah, that was the one. That was the one I thought. Like, I chased down him losing the streak for so many WrestleManias, and I thought this might be the one, and it wasn't. So that didn't help either, of course. But yeah, I don't know. Since then, like, it hasn't, like, when you push on and you go back down through the streak, there hasn't been many of them that have main evented and stuff like that. Matter of fact, the following year we were at 25 in Houston, and it was the Heaven and Hell one with Sean, number 1 at 25, and that was kind of middleish enough of the card. Losing all the greats on retirement matches, aren't we? Losing Paddy M and B Cool last year was the worst. Absolutely, we've had a number of conversations about that. Actually, I was only talking a few weeks ago. Sammy D dropped into the shop, and I was talking to Sammy D, and I was saying, it's terrible losing some of these icons of Irish wrestling and stuff like that and all, isn't it? It's a real sick night. These lads were unbelievable. So many brilliant nights in the Tivoli and stuff like that. So much history there and stuff like that. Even way before that, even the gym hall shows and the gym war shows and going out to warehouses and snow thick on the ground trying to get there and stuff, and the places were freezing. You'd have a hoodie and 2 jackets on you and all. It was brilliant, yeah. But certainly shout out to Paddy Morrow and B Kill, absolutely 2 legends of the Irish wrestling scene. And if you haven't checked out Paddy, if you check out Paddy and Maxer, I think they have a video out there where they were on tour in France with I think Marty Jannetty, and they were staying in a hotel room and they reenacted the barbershop window. It's absolutely monumental. Check it out. It's well worth checking it out. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels 2. And Morris Niall, like Tony Houlihan, reading the deaths. Yeah. You just, Morris, this is pro wrestling. You can't avoid them. You cannot avoid them. Blood should come back Should the feud be intense enough to use it, but using it weekly like AEW and Moxley isn't the way? Absolutely, and that's something I've always said. I'm not a big fan of the blood and that kind of stuff. There is a place for it at times where it should be used and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, if it adds to the match and it adds to the storyline and it elevates the psychology of it and stuff like that, great. If it doesn't, then don't waste your time doing it. Ian's again. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels 2. And then so Shawn Michaels was like, I get victory at WrestleMania, kicking you in the chin, ending your career, and you get a watch. Yeah, that's what happens in America, isn't it? When you retire in America, everyone gets a watch, don't they? Police and everything and all. So same sound, but this wasn't any all watch. This was a serious watch. There was a few bob thrown into that, no doubt. Were you happy it was Brock? Was I happy it was Brock? Do you know at the time, I've never been a huge fan of the streak. I think most people who know me know that. I don't really get it. I know people love it, and if you're an Undertaker fan, come at me. I know you're going to love it. But at the time, I thought it was epic because people just went into meltdown. But looking back on it, I don't think it was the thing to do, and I think even Brock to that day agrees with it, and Paul Heyman and all that. It wasn't the thing to do. Various stories have come out since Taker kind of retired and stuff like that, and all. Who made the call on it? What way did it go down? A lot of it's probably just saving face and stuff like that. But I think there could have been other people who could have taken it, and it would have meant a lot more. You know, I mean, who was in there? Who would you have likened to see take it down through the years? Who would you have put in there? Randy Orton would have been epic. Edge would have been epic. Shawn had some brilliant matches with him and stuff like that. Arguably his best matches in the streak and stuff like that. But would it have done anything to raise Shawn Michaels' stock really that he broke the streak? Certainly didn't need it. And the matches were epic. I don't know who's out there. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and in the chat, folks. Who would you have liked to see break it? New Ring of Honor title belts, nice. Sean, Sammy D is the man. I brought my friend to his first OTT show which was where Sammy retired Be Cool, and my mate went from knowing just enough to enjoy the show to wanting to assault Sammy in public. Absolutely, and isn't that what wrestling's about? Isn't that what wrestling's about? That you get fully immersed in the show, and they bring you on a journey and stuff like that. And listen, you couldn't pick two better guys. Absolutely epic. Be Cool was in with me there. I think just before Christmas he was back. He had been away working with his, I think it's his fiance now, as far as I know. And he dropped in to say hello and stuff like that. Love Barry's top lad, top lad. Same as Sammy. I've seen Sammy wrestle since he was a kid. Sammy, if he listens to the show and stuff like that, would remember his mother used to be in the front row. His mother's an absolute legend, and his mother used to be in the front row, and she'd be shouting at the lads who are chopping them and stuff like that and all. A real mother's love thing about him and stuff like that and all. Yeah, so hats off, Sammy and Barry. Top lads, top lads. Seeing them as kids flourish into these guys and top stuff. Ian says, "What's the story, Morris?" And Sean back in. Would have been funny if it was Cena just for the crack, but you need someone who looks believable to do that. And Brock was that. Just wish the match was a bit better. Yeah, yeah. No, you're probably spot on there. Yeah, Cena. Can you imagine the Cena hate? Good Lord, you know the way they go in on him anyway. Can you imagine the absolute hate on John Cena if he had broke the streak? Morris is in. Any updates on the jobber Finn Balor? There has to be something brewing there, doesn't there, with the Judgment Day and with the Bloodline? So we'll wait and see how that all develops. But having any updates, the jobber Finn Balor. Good Lord, Morris, how dare you? How very dare you? Ian's in. Kane should have ended the streak. No. No. I wouldn't have liked that at all. Maybe it's just I wasn't a big Kane fan either. Maybe I'm just clouded by that. CM Punk probably would have been the one, wouldn't he? Imagine if CM Punk had ended the streak and maybe had been happy in WWE and hadn't ran off with his tail between his legs, whinging and all that kind of thing. Maybe him breaking the streak would have been epic. Sean, I want you to imagine it's Hogan before he was a racist is coming out. Should be on Barry's gravestone. Oh God, yeah, absolutely classic stuff. Stuff those boys came out with was top notch. At Cheapy Productions podcast, I hope Ian doesn't see that he'll fucking open it. Oh God, excellent, brilliant stuff. What else have we got for you? We should have some more news there. Can't tear it. Ric Flair was out this week talking as well on Vince McMahon. Here's an interesting one for you. You'll love this one. On Vince McMahon having a boss. And he said, well, that remains to be seen, laughing. I'll have to hear that meeting. Flair said on the Good Karma Wrestling podcast. Imagine he's going to be pretty tough to boss around. He may have to negotiate, but he's not going to get bossed around. No chance. You got to be kidding me. Love Ric Flair's take on these things. Absolutely brilliant. Let us know, folks, as well. Natalia was talking to Chris Van Vliet there. I think it was during Mania week. I'm not too sure, but I think it was during Mania week. And she gave her Mount Rushmore for Canada. Canadian Mount Rushmore for wrestlers from Canada. And she said she puts on it, of course. It's very clear who's going on there, isn't it? Because it's wrestling royalty up there. So, of course, Bret Hart goes on it. Stu Hart went on it. And Owen Hart went on it, and she was tempted to put herself on it. It was kind of a cool interview. She was tempted to put herself on it. She probably should have, but she put Edge on it. So Natalia's Mount Rushmore for Canadian wrestlers: Bret Hart, Stu Hart, Owen Hart, and Edge. That's the four she went with. Let us know your thoughts on that one as well, folks. What do you think about that? The Botox is turning on Trish. It certainly isn't. Trish looks absolutely epic. She is like a fine wine at the moment, you know. She is getting better and better with age. Acers is in. WWE are going to Mexico on July the 22nd and 23rd. Interesting. Rey Mysterio will be heavily involved in that, I would imagine. Natalia, the most underused female wrestler of the last decade. Absolutely. And we forget, you know, I looked at some of them. There's some TikToks out there at the moment, and it shows the history through the career of each wrestler from when they started in sort of, you know, in FCW or whatever it was till they came in and where they are to this day and all. And you forget, don't you? You forget how long Natalia's been in there. She's been such a servant for the company. Unbelievable. While you're in there, folks, let us know, what is your Mount Rushmore? Forget about even Canada. What is your Mount Rushmore for pro wrestling? Let me know in the chat. Be interesting to see. We did do a show on it a couple of years ago on the Four Podmen, and it brought up some interesting debate. So let us know what your Mount Rushmore is for pro wrestling. Who are your four guys or girls? Or both if you want to split them. Acers is putting Benoit in there on his Canadian Mount Rushmore. Interesting. That would be a controversial conversation, I'd imagine. And he's just updated us with there's a penalty for Man City in the match against Bayern Munich. Booker T, what do you think of this? Booker T has proposed both CM Punk and Goldberg for AEW's All In at Wembley Stadium. Who would want to see that? Who would want to see that? Who wants to see CM Punk versus Goldberg in the main event at Wembley Stadium? Let me know your thoughts. Morris has come back. Only just noticed that she's losing it. Nah, you're being picky, you know. You're being picky. Being very picky on that one. Morris is in. Rodney, Mac, Juice, and Domino, a million. Oh, quality. Just interesting you mentioned that, Morris, because I took a look back at we'll take a look back at history now in a minute. And funny enough, Juice and Domino are in there. So good timing on that one. Sean's going in with Andy Kaufman, David Arquette, Sabu, the Elephant Boy, and James Sabu, the Elephant Boy, and James Ellsworth and General Adman. Jesus, Sean. Acers is back. More like it. Hogan, Macho Man, Flair, and Undertaker. Great choices. Great choices. Absolutely brilliant. I suppose when you're doing a Mount Rushmore, you could do it for probably each of the eras, couldn't you? So you could have a kind of an 80s and 90s and an noughties and stuff like that and all, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, gentlemen. Absolutely. Juice and Domino were class. Get away with that. Absolutely. I love Juice and Domino. I love it. Look here, I'm a huge Cliff Compton fan. Go check out Cliff Compton on the Cole Cabana podcast from a few years ago. You'll become a fan instantly. No doubt about it. Are you saying, gentlemen, I can't wrestle? We're talking Mount Rushmore here. Mount Rushmore, lads. Please. Mount Rushmore. Um, Yes, we'll get in with a little bit of history. That's been a lot of fun, lads. Really appreciate that in the chat, especially when I'm here holding the fort on my own. Her face and cheekbones. Trish Stratus looks absolutely amazing. Are you absolutely crazy or what? You're being very picky there now if you're picking on her at that age. Seriously, she is stunning at the moment. Absolutely stunning. Haaland just missed the penalty. Acers is telling us, yeah, just see it there now. It's in the background, yeah. Is this the chance that Bayern Munich have? They've just overturned the red card, give away a penalty, and City miss it. Is there a comeback here? I wonder. It should be interesting. Sean's back in. Oh yeah, actually, David Arquette, Johnny Knoxville, John Stewart, Eugene, and Heidenreich. Just for your Mount Rushmore, by the way, you can only have 4. There's only 4 on the Mount Rushmore, so unless you're going to put them together or stuff like that, John Stewart, Eugene, and Heidenreich. Love Eugene. Morris has had Eugene on actually 1 or 2 times, I think. So it was a good interview and stuff like that. Ian, I don't know what you're looking at. Yeah, exactly. 100%. I think he does this, and you're doing this just for is this controversy creates cash or something like that. Your concerns for Trish Stratus. Let's get into some history, guys. I'm going to bring you back first of all, 1984, the North-South Connection. Wonder how many of you know who the North-South Connection is. I'm going to pause on that. How many of you know what was the North-South Connection? Who was the North-South Connection? Let me know in the comments. Give you a second to think about that. No Googling it. No Googling, no cheating. How many of you in the chat know who 1984, the North-South Connection, who they were? Let me see. But they defeated Soul Patrol. Does anyone know who Soul Patrol was? We're going back. It is 1984. You guys are way younger than me. Soul Patrol to win the WWF Tag Team Championship belts. Arquette is legit, though. You Cannot Kill David Arquette is a great documentary. He was dealt a bad card and worked his arse off to get back into wrestling. He actually wanted to be there. I'll give you a story about David Arquette. I was at WrestleCon for WrestleMania 35, I think it was, in New York. We went to WrestleCon. And I bought one of the pop vinyls. I'm sure you know, looking behind me there, I collect those Funko Pops. I'm absolutely mad about collecting them. But I had the Scream one, the Ghostface one. Is that what it's called? Scream Ghostface? Yeah, that one. I had that and I was queuing up. I was first in the queue at the David Arquette table. I wanted David Arquette to sign my Scream Pop. And he was just about to sign it. We were chatting away and we were talking about wrestling and all that kind of stuff. And the next thing, he was on an indie show that night and 2 guys came into WrestleCon, beat the living shit out of him, proceeded to pick him up and give him an FU through the table. And whatever way they FU'd him, he cut his head on the table and he ended up with a concussion and he had to go off and get seen. And I was thinking, I'll be back in 10 minutes, just a medical thing. They're just working it for the show. He actually got a legit concussion and didn't come back from the rest of the day. And there was just a table on the ground in bits. There was Soul Patrol, not Snow Patrol, Soul, Soul. So the upshot of it is I was queuing at the table. I was first in the queue and I didn't get the pop sign. And if you check out Eric Bischoff's Twitter, I think he has a video up there of the actual match that they had. They were beating the crap out of each other in the middle of WrestleCon. And I think myself and Dean Fitch, Dino from the shows and stuff like that, we were in the middle of this kind. It was like nearly a mosh pit and these lads were just killing David Arquette. It was unbelievable. Unreal. But yeah, fun. I went to Specsavers yesterday. The girl said I have to stop. I said, "Why am I going blind?" She said, "No, you're disturbing the other people in the waiting room." Snow Patrol. Modesty. Right, boss, good lord. You cannot kill David Arquette. No, you can't. These are two big guys as well. One of these guys remind me like he was kind of like he was like a more shredded Hugh Morris. That's what he looked like. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, so just to let you know, the North-South connection was Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch, of course. Remember Adrian Adonis, of course, in WrestleMania 3. And Soul Patrol, of course, was Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. Two great tag teams. 2007, WWE SmackDown was held for the first time in Milan. This one is for you, Morris, Juice, and Domino. Was held first time in Milan, Italy. On the show, Juice and Domino defeated Paul London and Brian Kendrick. What a tag team Paul London and Brian Kendrick were. Um, at an officially recognised and they lost it ended the title reign of London and Kendrick and officially recognised 334 days as champions. So titles changing hands. We always like to mention that in the history when the titles change hands in Europe or on any of the kind of live shows and stuff like that. It's always really cool because it doesn't happen that often. 2017, the Monday Night Raw main event between The Big Show and Braun Strowman went to a no contest when a top rope suplex resulted in the ring collapsing. That was 2017, and they did that stunt again where they blow out the ring and stuff like that. Pretty cool when you see stuff like that, especially when there's two big guys in there. Certainly Big Show and Braun Strowman. 1982 in St. Paul, Minnesota, Hulk Hogan defeated Nick Bockwinkel to win the AWA World Heavyweight title. But due to the fact that both wrestlers used foreign objects during the match, I love this old stuff and how they kayfabed and all. It was brilliant. During the match, Bockwinkel was awarded the championship back by AWA president Stanley Blackburn a week later. Absolutely brilliant. We're nearly after the Watershed now. The Watershed on YouTube, yeah. They won the belts that night. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. In Italy, yeah. So there you go. Mount Rush. Bret Owen Hart, Chris Jericho, the Mountie. Interesting. That's for yeah, not a bad shout at all. Not a bad shout at all. 1985 in Tokyo, Japan, Bruiser Brody made his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut and fought Antonio Inoki to a double count-out draw. Shout out to Bruiser Brody. Rest in peace. What a wrestler that man was. 2005 WWE Monday Night Raw was in Madison Square Garden, New York. The main event was a no disqualification match between Triple H and Jim Ross. A bloodied Ross won the match by pinfall after Batista interfered on his behalf. Remember it well, a bloody Jim Ross. 1986, the first annual Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Tag Team Tournament was held at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I actually watched this one on telly, lads. I'm showing my age now. AKA the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. 24 tag teams competed for a kayfabed $1 million prize and a real trophy. The tournament was won, of course, by the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk, who defeated Ron Garvin and Magnum TA in the finals. Fantastic tournament, absolutely. And it was like, I remember watching it back then. I was only like, what was that, 1986? I would have been 14. And I was thinking $1 million. $1 million. Imagine that. Unbelievable. 2010, due to a volcano erupting in Iceland. Of course, we all remember this. All the flights were grounded over the ash clouds and all that kind of thing. Ryanair absolutely taking the piddle out of people with flights and all that kind of stuff. Erupting in Iceland and causing havoc to air travel, WWE presented Monday Night SmackDown. All of the Raw superstars were stuck in the UK as all flights were grounded, so the SmackDown wrestlers took over instead on the show. Absolutely classic stuff. Monday Night SmackDown. I think that's probably the only time it ever happened. Monday Night SmackDown. 1997 WWF In Your House 14 Revenge of the Taker takes place in Rochester, New York, in front of just under 6,500 fans. On the show, of course, The Undertaker returned the WWF Championship against Mankind, and Steve Austin defeated Bret Hart by disqualification when the British Bulldog interfered and attacked Austin with a steel chair. In Your House 14 Revenge of the Taker. 1980, at the WWF MSG show in New York, Ken Patera defeated Pat Patterson to become the second ever WWF Intercontinental Champion. And I wanted to tie that in, obviously, with his book launch this week as well. So it was pretty cool that we had a bit of history there to do it. I like linking the show across from the now to the then as well at times when I can. 2002, WWF Backlash was held at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, in front of just under 12,500 fans. This was the last pay-per-view under the WWF name, as the court ruled that the initials WWF belonged as trademark to the World Wildlife Fund. And then remember what happened after that, the whole program would get the F out and all this kind of thing. And then it became WWE, of course. Absolutely monumental. Let's finish out with some notable birthdays. Always enjoy these. And of course, Niall's 1958, it's his birthday. The man who we all love, rest in peace. I've seen some quotes. It was his birthday the other day. His daughter posted some stuff on Twitter. Of course, the rowdy one, Rowdy Roddy Piper, 1954. Had the pleasure of meeting the man. Absolute legend. Acers in the comments. Revenge of the Taker was only good for Paul Bearer getting his face set on fire by Undertaker. Wow. Potentially, yeah. Steve Lombardi, 1961, the Brooklyn Brawler. It's his birthday as well this week. And of course, Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers, 1985, one half of the major wrestling podcasts and stuff like that, doing great stuff there with Matt Cardona, formerly Zack Ryder. Brilliant stuff. Byron Saxton, 1981, celebrates his birthday this week. Shout out to Byron Saxton. And of course, 1934, the man Ox Baker celebrates his birthday as well. Bit of a ECW flavour there for you. 1971, Axel Rotten, who passed away, I think, not so long ago, if I'm right. Was it last year? I think he passed away. 1971 was his birthday. And then, of course, the barber himself, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, 1958, celebrates his birthday this week. And we rounded out with 1985. Speaking of Flair's retirement match and stuff like that, the man himself, Jay Lethal, celebrates his birthday this week, 1985. That is your notable birthdays. Morris back in. Been trying to track down Niles for a podcast, not easy. Yeah, absolutely. These lads just go. Some of them just want to get away from it all, Morris. No surprise and stuff like that. Morris, also, if you're in the chat there, let people know who you have on this week and stuff like that. And if you want to drop any links in there, of course, to the channel and to any of the shows and stuff like that. I'm not sure. You're probably recording the Skinner one tonight, as far as I know, is it? Would it be tonight when you're recording? Not too sure, but if you have any information, throw it in there, let them all know and stuff like that. Anyway, folks, not too bad. 53 minutes to show this week. Not too bad at all. We'll continue to bring you your updated Backlash card as it evolves, and any other news. Of course, check out, I'll just drop a little slide up there again. Which one will I use? This is a good one to use. You can scan that QR code there, which will take you straight to our TikTok account, where you can drop a follow on that, where we're dropping kind of videos and fun stuff and shorts and stuff on a daily basis at this stage. So check that out if you need your fill of pro wrestling fun between each of the shows on a weekly basis. Eno will be back next Wednesday. We'll bring you, of course, as I said, updated card, everything that's evolving with AEW and any other news that's out there as well. Yeah, so that's it. Great show. Thanks for being in the comments. Aces, come on, Southampton. And GP, I have a live show with Skinner at 11 p.m. our time. If his signal is good, if not, it will drop tomorrow. Brilliant. I'll check that out at 11 anyway. So, folks, make sure you go over, subscribe to Morris's channel, of course, hit the bell notification and like on all the videos that he puts out there. Guy is absolutely putting in a shift on content at the moment. So, Skinner, hopefully tonight at 11. If the connection isn't great, then you'll get it as a drop tomorrow at some stage. But check out Morris's podcast. And of course, everyone in the chat, big thank you. Keep on supporting the channel. The subscriptions are growing on a weekly basis as we bring you this content. We hope that you're enjoying it. Next Wednesday, Arsenal versus City do a late show. Do you know what I'll do, Morris? We'll probably do the show on the Tuesday. How does that sound? We'll do the show on the Tuesday probably next week so we can enjoy Arsenal versus City, hopefully. But they're the ones. Check out Morris's podcast later at 11. He has Skinner on. Hopefully, if not, as he said, dropping tomorrow at some stage. Until next time, folks, always a pleasure bringing you these podcasts. I love the pro wrestling ones. It is a passion for me that I do really love. I've loved it all my life. Appreciate your support. As I said, subscribe, like, share the content, and like on the video. Hit the bell notification. And we'll be back with you again next week. Cheers, folks.